What's going on, guys? It's Groove back again with another video, and today we have Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. Now, I'm really in my bag on this one. I love these types of books. When you start reading history and you start reading philosophy, you realize that nothing really ever changes. He lived less than 2,000 years ago. The world was completely different, obviously, but the mindset of people, the way we live life, is exactly the same way we do today. And it's just crazy when you realize that. You know, a little backstory to Marcus Aurelius that it goes into in the book. He was born in 121 AD, which is like during the last 2,000 years, which is crazy. You know, we all watch those movies like Troy and Gladiator, and we're thinking like 2, 3, 4,000 years ago. It was like so long ago. And he was born like in AD. You know, that's not that long ago when you think about it, or at least I don't, as much history as I read. But he only ruled Rome the last 20 years of his life, and he co-ruled it with somebody else. Under his co-rule from 161 AD until he died in 180 AD, Rome flourished. I believe it's because he idolized the old ways. He idolized the philosophers. Like, that's how he grew up. You know, when we all think about these people like Marcus Aurelius or Socrates, we all think they kind of grew up together, they was hanging around, but no, like Socrates, that was like 300 years earlier. The way of Stoicism, the way of philosophy came well before he was even alive, but he idolized these people, and, you know, during his rule, that's why, you know, Rome flourished, is because he stuck to those ways. During his co-rule, people would call him a great philosopher ruler, but of course he would never sit there and say that, because you can't call yourself the GOAT. Like, you know, if people think you're great at something, you can't be like, yeah, I am great. Like, he would always just be calm, level-headed. He'd be like, yeah, I think that's what people say about me, but, you know, it is what it is. I just live my life. But, you know, people thought of him as a great philosopher. So when it comes to this book, it is put into 12 different books. But when he starts to write these in his old age, he's not writing these as books. He's not writing these to be published. He doesn't even know anybody's ever going to see these, which, again, is crazy that 2,000 years later, we're still reading his works. But he's just writing his thoughts. He's just journaling, getting his thoughts off. He's not sitting there saying, oh, I need to write this so people can know what I think in the future or right now. He's just writing to write. Now, again, when it comes to this book, there are 12 individual books within here. And again, he's just getting his thoughts off. There's no real structure to them. But I'm just going to break some of the ones or some of the passages down that I felt was, you know, they popped out to me. And some of them I'm just going to read. Some of them that I'm going to expound on a little bit more and, you know, give my thoughts on that. So he starts off by saying that the nature of good is what is right, and the nature of evil is what is wrong. Just going outside today, you'll know what is wrong and what is right, and he says that is what his basis for good and evil is. I cannot be angry with my kinsman or hate him, for we were born for cooperation, and to go into opposition of that is to go against nature. Remember how long you've been putting this off. How many times the gods have given you a period of grace and you have not used it. You need to clear away the clouds in your life, because the opportunity will be gone and then you will be gone and it won't return. When I read this, you know, it just made me think of, you know, how many times people waste their time today. You know, everybody's just scrolling on social media, just watching Netflix, sitting on the couch watching football on Sundays. Like, everybody's just wasting their time today. And the same thing happened 2,000 years ago. He's just talking about how so many people back then, again, without everything, all the distractions we have today, that people are still being distracted in life, and they need to seize the opportunity to go after what they want. Every hour of the day, give vigor to the task at hand and vacate your mind from thoughts of other things. This will free you from a lack of aim, a lack of deviation, a lack of dissatisfaction when it comes to life. Now, with this passage, I feel like you can kind of take it a lot of places, but the place that I took it, or it took me in my mind, was, you know, just focusing on the work. Don't worry about what other people will think about it. Like, if you're trying to write a book, right, just sit down and just lose yourself in the work. Write the best book that you can write, or the book that you want to write. Don't worry about, oh, how am I going to publish it? Or will people like it? Or how many copies can it sell? Just sit down, lose yourself in the work, and stop worrying about other things. And usually that's when the best work comes out. When you're just totally focused on the work, you're not worried about any outside thoughts or anything else of other people's opinions or if it's going to be successful or not. But if you just sit down and focus on the work, that's when you produce the best work. Life for us is a mere moment, and your life is nearly over. Stop yourself from wandering. You must guard against other sorts of drift. Those that are dead to life have no direction in life. Those who fail to attend the motions of their own soul end up unhappy. Now, this passage right here really spoke to me because, so many times everybody's always telling you what to do or telling you how to do things, and you really need to listen to your soul and figure out what you love doing and try to do that. Even if it's not your main job, like maybe starting a YouTube channel talking about book reviews or, your favorite passages in books or whatever it is, you need to do what your soul is telling you to do. That's where you will find happiness. It's not just, hey, you should go be a banker because they make the most money or whatever. You need to do what your soul is telling you to do. There should be a fire in you to be like, you know what, I feel like doing this, or I feel like starting to play an instrument or go down to make some music or whatever it is. If you don't chase that, if you don't listen to what your soul is telling you that you should do, then you're going to be unhappy in life. And it doesn't mean like you need to give up everything and go chase your passions, but at least work towards them. At least start doing, going down that path to feeding your soul. And that's where, you will get hints of happiness. You may leave this world at any time. Departure from this world of men is nothing to fear if gods exist, because if gods exist, they would not involve you in any harm. Life and death, wealth and poverty, pleasure or pain. He said that all of these come to people who are good or bad, but these things themselves are not necessarily bad. This passage spoke to me because there's a lot of hate for rich people today. There are people that are saying, oh, because they're rich, they're evil or they're bad. And just because somebody's rich doesn't necessarily make them evil. It doesn't necessarily make them bad. Again, just like he says in the passage, there's nothing wrong with being wealthy. Those things themselves are not good or evil. Then he asks himself the question of what is death? And he says that death is just a function of nature, and that anybody who is afraid of a function of nature is a mere child. And it's crazy because, again, there's a lot of people today that believe that we live in a simulation, or that, this reality we live in is not the real reality. And again, 2,000 years ago, before computers, before the whole word of simulation, he believes that, this entire world that we live in, this universe, he believes that things happen for a reason. And that we shouldn't be scared of death because it's just a part of nature. It's a part of life. And so there's nothing to fear. Even if you were to live 3,000 years, nobody loses the life they haven't lived. No one can lose the past or future. How can one be deprived of something one does not possess? This passage, again, really spoke to me because, if somebody passes away, they're like, oh, they were gone too soon. There's just so much life left to live. But we all live in the present moment. We can't live in the future. We can't live in the past. There's only now. And so if somebody passes away, you're not missing anything in the future. You can't sit there and say that, oh, I wish I would have lived longer. We're just living right now. And so you need to use this moment to the best of your abilities. Again, make each moment count because all we have is the present. All we have is right now. So then he asks himself the question of when a soul harms itself. Now, he believes that we are all these souls in this meat bag, doing things in this world. But he says a soul harms itself when it separates itself from nature, when it gives in to pleasure or pain, when it intends to harm another person or another soul. And the last one is when it fails to direct actions to a goal without conscious aim. And that last part really spoke to me as far as, being conscious with our decisions in life, being conscious with our actions in life. I don't know if you guys ever seen that meme where it's like, oh, how was your day? And it's the person, and then they're sitting in bed like this, and then they're in the car in the same pose like this, and then they're at work like this, and then they come back home and they're sitting in front of watching TV like this, and then they get in bed and they're like this. And it's because you're living life without a conscious decision, a conscious aim towards life. You're just doing. You're not going out there with any proper aim towards life. You're just going to your job every day and you're just miserable. You're killing or harming your soul and you're not really living life. Again, that really spoke to me. Again, 2,000 years ago, the same thing. You need to make a conscious decision or conscious actions towards a goal. You need to be figuring out what you want in life and going towards it. And as soon as you get that aim, as soon as you consciously know what you want to do, it sparks like a fire under you. It makes you happy. It makes you jump out of bed in the morning. I'm living my life. I'm achieving my goals step by step. I'm breaking it down. I'm going after what I want in life instead of just, again, unconsciously going through life, killing or harming your soul. In man's life, time is an instant. Your future is unpredictable, and your fame is unclear. All things of the body stream away like a river. All things of the mind are dreams and illusions. Life is warfare, and the only lasting thing is oblivion. Going back to the Seneca on the shortness of life, he feels it too. Again, in his old age, he realizes that we're only here for an instant. Like, so many people feel like they're gonna live forever, or life is long, or I'll just do it later because I got the time. But again, they just all go back to, we're just here for a second. We're here for an instant, and then you're gone, and probably nobody's going to remember you, especially, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. No matter what you do, you're probably going to be forgotten. So again, stop wasting your life. Like, go accomplish something. Go, chase your dreams, chase your goals, do something. Go after what you want in this life, because again, we're only here for a small amount of time. And again, like he said, the only thing that lasts is oblivion. The only thing that is true is oblivion for all of us. It's all going to be over one day. So don't waste the time you have while you're here. But he says, while we are here, we should study philosophy. Doing this keeps us free of harm. It allows us to master pleasure and pain. It stops us from doing things without an aim or a goal. Furthermore, philosophy, in the end, allows us to accept all that happens, the good and bad, while we can await for death confidently. Because in the end, we are nothing more than elements. And so death is nothing but elements breaking down. And so there's nothing to fear. This is in accordance with nature, and nothing harmful is in accordance with nature. So it's just a natural part of life, waiting for death confidently. I really like that. There's nothing to fear. If you go down this philosophy route and you start getting into nature and getting into the whole and understanding that, we're all on this journey and that there's nothing really to fear in the end, as long as you're just outside making the right decisions, making a conscious effort to go after your goals, go after your dreams, do what you like in this life, that's all there is to it. And so yeah, that was pretty much book 2. Go ahead and leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch you guys in that next one. Peace.